Alright guys, just gonna make a video going over some kind of creative warding for offensive and defensive warding. This is gonna go to two different levels. Basically, when the enemy jungler for offensive warding, it'll be when the enemy jungler has a sweeper versus does not. Same with going for the support. These are wards. Some of them we've talked about before. I only have the bot in there because I was going to talk about their trinkets. Um, so to make sure you guys are continually looking uh, to make sure they have them or not. So, so we're just doing practice tool here this time too. So we'll start off with defensive warding since we're here. Let me remind myself what the hell the refresh cooldown shit is. Cooldown, Shift X. Okay. So defensive warding, like being creative with defensive wards is if they're always invading our jungle basically, they're most likely going to be bringing pinks and their sweepers. So you want to make the spacing of rewards different than what it normally would be. Instead of just pushing it right inside of this bush, this is somewhere they'll commonly put a pink or sweep. You would actually want to put a ward like in this area because it's less likely that if they put a pink here, it won't see it, and it's less likely that they'll be sweeping in this area. But if they do, it'll be further apart from the normal areas that they're checked, so it'll be more likely that another ward will last. So this one will see both of these pathings. Same thing with a ward like this, can see all three of the pathings here. Um, and then also, so you're looking for areas like this is what I'm mentioning, because if they're sweeping, they're most likely going to be sweeping or pinking in these areas. So we at least can keep vision of one area most likely, even if they say they start to sweep here and then they walk down this way, they've already wasted 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds trying to sweep this bush. So when they start pathing this way, now they stop here, and then by the time they get to this, they won't be able to clear this ward most likely. So we're at least keeping vision, we know where they are, and we're keeping track of this. So we know not to go in these bushes, um, but it's obviously you can throw pinks like in the furthest bushes if you would like to. That's perfectly fine. But for like the immediate part of their entry into the jungle, just different places that aren't in the bushes are actually good wards. And then whenever we're doing offensive warding. So say we're invading this way on this jungle. So the difference is if you check your opponent if they have sweeper or not will actually matter. So if they have sweeper, this bush wouldn't make as much sense. Something like this would make more sense, just because again the spacing of our wards when we go in will be less likely that they clear. So if they start the sweep here, by the time they finish that and then come to the next spot that we may have a ward, so say we have a offensive ward here as well, that's when they have a sweeper, then it most likely won't be able to clear both. So it's just finding ways to be creative with your wards, that it will be less likely they can full clear two of them. Because most of the time when we do offensive warding, it's two wards, unless we have a pink, and then we can get a forward pink. So the pinks, obviously, you're always going to be putting in bushes, and that's perfectly fine. But your trinket wards, whenever they have sweepers, should be more creative like this. You could even put something down here because it covers two pathways. It doesn't matter, just not in bushes is perfectly fine because you're creating a further space and a less likely place that they will start their sweeps at if they do start clearing, to make sure we keep vision there for longer. And then obviously if they don't have sweepers yet, then you're more than perfectly, you're fine just putting it in the normal spots in the bushes because they don't have anything to clear it except for pink wards. So um, always look at their inventory, see if they have pink wards, check their trinkets, everything like that. So for the other side, we can just run over to the other side real fast and show you wards. There, this whole area right here is good for warding, especially like this part where it covers both pathing. Again, if you don't like, they may put a pink here, so you might want to put your ward here instead, so this doesn't get covered by the pink, but we still get vision of the two spots here. And again, if they have a sweeper, this is the most likely spot they would sweep. So something more creative like right here is perfectly fine because it covers all the areas. It's perfectly fine. You don't have to see down this way. You get a little bit of vision of the wolves still. So if they start this wolf, then you're going to know. So just whenever we're advancing our vision and being, we need to be more creative with the wards. So it's more likely that they'll last. So even if you just do this ward, it's not going to cover the blue buff, but it covers most of the area. So if a good jungler obviously will be kiting this, you'll still get to see this fucking them doing the blue buff, and they would have to put a pink on the far edge to see this. If they put it in the middle, it probably would miss it, but it's just giving us a clearer vision, a clearer way or an easier way to keep our vision. Sorry, I shouldn't be saying clearer there since we're talking about vision, but it's an easier way to keep our vision is you're putting him in more creative spots. And then we've obviously already talked about on both sides, my opinion, one of the best warding spots you can do in the whole game, and this is on both sides, is this one right here because it covers the plant and all three of the walkways. And this is rarely ever swept unless we're at the team fighting stage, like you're at the Baron, or if you're doing it on Dragon Pit, which Mystic does all the time. But this gives you, like, this helps mid lane and top lane tremendously. It helps, same thing down here, it helps mid and bot lane if we put it right here. And then the other wards, same thing. You could do this stuff too, Alex, if you ever have a moment, say you shove the wave and you're just waiting for it to reset. You don't have to ward here. You can put one right here and then the other one right here like we're talking about. So this is the most likely place they'll put a pink or they'll sweep. So this is something that if you don't have a pink ward, like you're just your regular trinkets, these are great spots for you. And then Mystic and whomever ends up being our mid lane will know this one as well. Instead of just always warding this Tribush, you put one here so it covers this. It also covers some of the lane vision. As you can see on this one, it actually sees all the way into the middle of the lane, so you can see the jungler coming through the lane. This as well would cover all three paths just like that, so it really helps out. Just be more creative with our warding instead of just always putting stuff in the bushes, because it'll just help us. Like, these are 100 and, 90 second, they're 95 seconds now. Did they up it 5 seconds? Anyway, they're a minute and a half long, so just try to think of more creative spots to put your wards instead of just always in the bushes, because it's just an easier way for us to keep vision longer, especially when we're on the defensive too. When you're on the defensive, it's so easy for, if you watch some of our old games that we played together or just games in general, it's a lot easier for people to clear wards because everyone just puts shit in the normal spot. Like, people do this all the time too. If you actually watch competitive scene, you'll see the pros putting wards like this because it doesn't, they're not trying to get complete vision, they're just trying to get enough vision so it covers like some extra. So this ward right here is if you're on red side and you're basically you're going back to base, you drop your ward here real fast and then you go back. So it gives you at least a little bit of extra vision so you can see the jungler coming from this side. And then if you want full vision, you'd put a pink in this bush or obviously down here, and even in this bush. So just try to think of being more creative with how we're warding. And then we do need to do a lot better job from the past experiences of us working with Central, like making this part of our conversation that we see Central on our side. You guys can just go and actually ward together. You don't have to go get kills. Especially say we have a mid-game team comp and we're starting off a little slow, the other team has a lead, doesn't matter. Whenever we hit our spike, that's what matters. So now vision becomes even more important because we want to get to that point in the game safely. So just always think of more creative ways to get us vision. This is even a good ward. This is a perfectly fine ward because it'll see all the entries. So just try to think of ways that we can be more creative. So going forward, um, we do a lot better with our vision control, even if our scores don't go up. It's just making our efficiency of warding a lot better. So hopefully that helps with you guys. Just you can even do this stuff in solo queue. It'll help you out tremendously. So just start thinking about that stuff more.